Schmoedown.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Schmoedown Rundown. Introducing first, Frankie Janisch, and the host of the Schmoedown Rundown, Brad Gilmore.
What's up, Movie Trivia Schmoedown fans? Welcome to the Schmoedown Rundown, the official episode of the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. My name is Brad Gilmore, but you might know me by another name. You might know me as The Vote. Hashtag best of all time, hashtag Brad's Opinion True, hashtag Vote Life, hashtag I Want to Vote. Frank Janisch, what's going on, man? The man from Chi-Town, Chicago, Illinois, the boy. You know how Drake calls himself the boy? I want to call you the boy.
Okay.
Frank Janisch.
Yeah, well, you know what? The boy is cold. The boy is cold in Chicago. And on top of it being cold in the city of Chicago, it's cold where I reside in my dwelling, my house, my apartment, my room, because the heater broke this morning. So the landlord's got to come and fix it. So it's actually a nice, probably like 50 degrees, 49, but it's like a cold 50 degrees, you know? It's not like...
It's like a chill. You feel the chill.
Yeah, you know, it's not... But, you know what? I'll be all right, though. I got a fleece on and all that, so I'm prepared. Let's do this.
You know, I had to do Christmas decorations today, and it is like, I don't know, 73 in Houston right now. So I sweated. You know, I was sweating.
Okay.
While I was doing it. It wasn't
Not
like a nice chilly kind of atmosphere. It was a very sweaty, hot Texas Christmas. So hopefully it changes for us. But anyway, why do we always talk about the weather? It doesn't matter to anyone else.
Everyone always talks about the weather because that's all that anyone knows how to talk about without arguing.
You know, the weather. Oh no, it's the weather. First it's hot, then it's cold. Oh no. Frank Janisch, let's talk about the movie Trivia Schmoedown, because that's what we're here to talk about every single week. And we appreciate all the new people who've been watching us on SEN, on the Schmoedown Entertainment Network. I've seen some new people coming in saying they're going to check it out every week going forward. I know on these polls that are posted all over the place that we're never number one in the polling, but you know, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. We're a very niche show, but you know, we're going to get there. Frank Janisch, but what I wanted to talk about before we get into anything spectacular related, I know there was some that went down this week that you were talking about prior to us recording, and I thought that you should take the time to kind of let people know what's going on.
Yeah, I think probably most people by now, at least in the Facebook groups, we had someone pass away in the community by the name of Emma McAllister. She was one of the more just brilliant, outstanding, fierce, dedicated fans this community has seen. She was part of Action Industries, the whole Action Army, played in the fan leagues. Everyone knew her. Everyone loved her. She brought such a passion and fire to her fandom, to the Schmoedown fandom community. She passed away earlier this week, and it's a huge loss for this community. By now, I think, like I said, if you're in the Facebook groups, you've seen many posts, remembering her and the times that people have interacted, because this is, it's an online community, and with the advent of the live shows, the online community, a lot of these people are able to meet each other in person and build upon their friendships. Emma, built a lot of friendships with a lot of people in this community online, and I know she meant a lot to a lot of different people in this community. While I didn't personally interact that much with Emma, I know she would comment here and there on our episodes on the Rundown, and she was always someone that I would, if I'm scrolling through comments, and I saw her name, I'd scroll back up just to see what she said. She always had a quick wit about her, very interesting takes, very funny as well. And this is actually, then it just made me remember about Jeff earlier this year, another fan reactor who's also very passionate about movies in this community. So we've lost a couple people this year, and it's not something you think about when you join an online community that you get to know these people, and then stuff like this unfortunately can happen, and it's just too soon for her, for both of them. But Emma will definitely be missed, and I think the only thing that we can do is to continue on in this community and do right by her by continuing to be the best fans that we can be, respectful to one another, but also have those little arguments, those little disagreements within this community, but have fun with it, because that's always what she did, from what I can tell and from what I've read from others. So definitely my thoughts and prayers to everyone that was in her life that she affected. So once again, my thoughts and prayers to the friends and family.
Yeah, I mean, like you, I didn't have many interactions, but it always sucks to lose somebody who was a part of the community and a passionate part of the community. And I think that there's never a good time, but to be this close to the holidays is always rough, for everybody. So just thoughts and prayers with her and the whole family. And hey, we're always going to keep soldiering on, right? The show always must go on, and I think that now that we carry their spirits and memories with us when we talk about the Schmoedown, and when we compete, and when we have these podcasts or go to the live events. It's all kind of to continue on with something that they were so passionate about. Anybody that we've lost regarding the community. So obviously thoughts and prayers, and I wish that the spectacular is right around the corner, and go out and see the spectacular and just feel the energy. But obviously thoughts and prayers. But Frank Janisch, to try to transition out of that, as difficult as it may be, let's talk about it. The spectacular, though, is right here. It's next week, live in Los Angeles, California. You and I, me and you and me, we're going to be out there covering it for the Schmoedown Rundown and just watching it as fans, the way that so many of us in the online community do. And 5 matches, one night, first time. There's been, I guess the free-for-all this year would probably be the longest event thus far, for sure.
Yeah.
In as far as live events go, this one probably going to top that, I would say.
I think certainly,
probably pretty likely.
Yeah, with the 5 matches, and then that's if you're not even including the fan expo, that if you don't have tickets for, you really should, because you can take your Facebook and your YouTube and your Twitter comments directly to John Roca's face. You know what? Now you have that opportunity. You can, chat with Mike Kalinowski and a slew of others, competitors.
You say?
A slew.
I love the slew.
Yeah.
Gotta get a slew. Love the slew.
So, but yeah, I think 5 matches. There's potential for Bibbs or Ben Bateman to play in 3 matches that night, or just 2, depending on how things shape out with the team's tournament that we're watching now. So, historic matchups. I cannot believe it's a week away. I'm really excited for this one.
And there are plans for Frank Janisch and I to be doing the night prior a live stream, answering your questions, your fan questions regarding the matches, the year really in the movie trivia Schmoedown, who we think's going to win, and maybe Frank will have some fun awards to give out. You know what I mean? Like just some, not the Schmoedown awards proper, but maybe, best of this, best of that, because not only are we coming to an end of a season, we're coming to an end of a decade, right? And the Schmoedown's been around for the better part of this last decade, so there might be some decade.
Are you giving
of
me
the year
homework right now? Are you giving me homework to do? Is that because I got to come up with like some weird award now? Awards?
Yeah.
You giving me homework?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, why not? I mean, I'm just saying, like, we'll
I'm
come
onto you.
off top of the dome. You know what I mean? Like like the one I like to give. We have like our own award ceremony for reality wrestling. We call it the Row Awards. And
clever.
Yes, very clever. I didn't come up with it. I have a reward in here somewhere.
I bet you do. Yeah.
I hosted the Row Awards last year, and I gave out my own, awards, and like for instance, biggest baby face on TV, but biggest heel in the locker room. Like those are the kind of the ones that I would give out. So I feel like we got several of those.
Okay.
We got several categories that we can go out there. But so we're gonna be doing that live stream next Friday evening at some point, and then we're gonna have the Fan Expo the next morning. Like I said, the Schmoedown Spectacular going on 5 matches, and like you said, we know we're gonna see William the Beast Bibiani and Ben Bateman for the singles final. And they've been going back and forth on Twitter all day.
Yeah, I saw that.
After giving thanks, they've been going back and forth all day. And I even saw Booker T's name was invoked in one of the tweets. So you might want to tread lightly, boys. I'm just saying. But we know we're going to see them in the singles final. But we don't know who the team's final is going to be. But it's possible that Bibiani could be on one side and Who's the Boss could be on the other. God, I would love to see that. I would love to see that, and then, obviously, the team would go on to face the Founding Fathers. And this is my question to you about the team tournament going into the Spectacular, and we can dive in it more next week when we know exactly what team is going into the final. But do you think that the Founding Fathers just sitting on the sidelines while all these teams are actively competing multiple times over the last several weeks, do you think that that's going to hurt or help the Founding Fathers? Sure, they come in well-rested and maybe well-studied, but that momentum factor that we always talk about, do you think that it's going to come into play, the fact that they've kind of been sitting on the shelf?
I don't. And I say that pretty confidently, especially after the interview we had with Roca and just his mindset, Dan Merle's mindset, and how they balance each other out, how they help each other out in certain regards to getting prepared, staying prepared, keeping the fire, keeping that hunger. So I don't think the long layoff since Orlando is going to have much of an effect. But I think as they've been watching the tournament unfold, I think that in and of itself just continues to keep that fire burning for them, because they see everybody, duking it out, and they know that they're going to get one hell of a match from whoever comes out of that tournament, and they know that they're going to play their best at Spectacular because the other team will demand it, and they see themselves as a team that rises to that challenge at this point now. So I don't think the layoff hurts or helps, because they're already at where they're going to be at even before this tournament final was decided. So that's kind of how I see it.
I just don't know ever. Because Schmoedown isn't as athletic of a sport. It's more of a mental
Physically,
sport.
Right,
It's not a physical sport. So the sitting on the sidelines, it doesn't have as much of an effect as you would say a fighter. Like, a lot of times we say time off is a fighter's worst enemy. Time off is a wrestler's worst enemy. Time off is a basketball player's worst enemy. But in this case, some R&R and some ability to, stay focused, watch the tournament, be able to take notes, really strategize as to who you may be going against and knowing their strengths and weaknesses. Maybe it's going to play into their hand more than it would be to their detriment. I don't know, but that's why we're going to talk about it more next week when we see who that one-on-one battle is going to be. But I think, Frank Janisch, let's just jump into the matches that were, because there were 3 matches, and I said on Twitter earlier today, I think this was the best week in teams tournament history. I think that all 3 matches were awesome. There were some memorable moments. There were some heated moments. There were some unbelievable moments that occurred in all 3 matches. So I guess let's start. Why don't we start with the Paddington 2 and the family? Now, last week I picked the family to win this, but I wasn't super confident in that fact. And I was sort of wrong and right at the same time. But first, let's talk about the family versus Paddington 2. First round, kind of what did you think going into this? Who was the favorite? All that stuff.
This match, the first round specifically, I thought went pretty much, I guess, as the way that I thought. I mean, fairly high scoring, 12-10.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, Matt Atchity, I thought he was a little bit off his game. He only had 4 in that first round. His point total was less than Andrew Guy, who had 5. So that always that put the family in a good spot, because Drew McWeeny is always going to bring it. He put up 7 points. And, I think last week I said at that table, Drew McWeeny is the most knowledgeable, prepared guy prepared guy at that table, because Alonso Duralde, he only put up 6, which is still a good number, but it's not 7, and they trailed 12-10, but it was a fun first round, to tell you the truth, and it did set the table for what I thought was always going to be a very contested match from both sides, and the first round definitely set the tone.
Yeah, and then going into the second round, the thing about Matt Atchity, and I think I heard Christian say this, is he's been playing the game for several years, but we're not still sure if he knows how to play the game.
Right.
How much of that do you think hindered their performance, if any at all, in this match?
In this match, not that much, up until a certain point, which we'll get to, and it's not even really a thing that whether or not he knows or doesn't know the game. I don't know this to be true or not, but I don't know how many Mai Tais he had before this game, during the game. I think you have to think it plays something. However, I mean, just look at the first round. Like I said, 4 points. That's not very Matt Atchity-like for a first round performance. He's a guy who's accustomed to 6, 7, 8 points in that first round. So 4 is a very rare kind of thing for Matt Atchity in a team setting. But I think after that, he seemed like his old self, really, as that match progressed.
Yeah, I think it was a slow start, like you said. I think that he was... Here's the thing. When you have a great player, or think about this. When you have somebody, like with Booker and I sometimes, this is what I think of. When we're doing our radio show together, he's so funny, and he's so over the top and entertaining that sometimes I think, okay, let me be more the straight man here, and let me feed into him instead of trying to be the joke guy, right? Or try to come up with a clever line. I think when you have a great partner, or you have someone who's super knowledgeable, like let's say a Drew McQueenie or an Alonso Duralde, you might be a little bit more relaxed. You might rest on your laurels just a little bit more and say, oh, well, I know if I slack, he's got me. And when you know you're riding with training wheels, or you know that there's a net under your high wire act, you don't play with the same intensity. You don't have the same in-game ability that you might. It's the old you run faster when there's someone chasing you. I think that might have played in early on with Matt Atchity here. Do you think that I'm right or wrong?
I don't know, because I know that he respects Drew McQueenie immensely. So
I'm talking about him having a partner of Alonso Duralde, someone who, he knows has a real good knowledge base.
Well, in that, I see what you're saying in that regard, but I think no, and I think I think it leans more into he respects Drew immensely, so he knows he's got to bring it, regardless of what Alonso is capable of. I think that seems like where his mindset would be, just based on things he's said in the past and things he's said at the end of this match. So that's kind of how I don't know. I couldn't tell you 100%. I guess I don't know. That's my best take on it.
And before we get into round 2, though, Andrew Guy, 5 points. Kind of, what do you think of his play here?
He did exactly what he needs to do as a teammate of Drew McQueenie. Let's not throw up 4 points, because Drew's going to give you 7 or 8. And so he did exactly what he needed to do in this scenario. Would have been nice to have 6, 7, or 8, sure. But 5 is probably like the bare minimum that he needs to deliver, as long as he's a teammate of Drew McQueenie, because that got them 12 points, and that's slightly above average for contending teams in the team's division. I always say you at least got to be hitting 10 points to stay within arm's reach of your opponent. And in this case, the Paddington 2, 10-12, but as long as you can keep that lead from round to round, especially going into the second round, it gives you, the advantage of whether or not you want to defer. You're able to see what you need to do, and if you're going to employ that kind of strategy. So as long as they can keep the lead, which Andrew Guy was able to contribute to with Drew McQueenie's 7 points, he did all that he needed to do. I thought he had a good run. I think, look, everyone got that animated question wrong. So you kind of throw that out the window. So you look at 7 questions, and he went 5 of 7, if you want to frame it that way. So I think, and also the horror thriller question, only Drew McWeeny got it. So it's not like he was completely out of step with everybody else at that table. So I thought it was a fine performance, relatively speaking, to everyone at that table.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. I think that Drew knows, like you said, Andrew Guy. That is, he knows he's got to stay at least right here. You can't go below, but you got to stay at least right here in order to stay competitive when you have a guy like a Drew McWeeny. Now, break me down round number 2 here. What'd they get? Who went first? That whole thing.
Yeah, this is where the match really kind of kicks into another gear.
Right.
Family defers to Paddington 2. They spin. They end up on Christopher Nolan, which is kind of a strength of Andrew Guy's. But they elect to respin. They end up landing on Kurt Russell. They go 6 for 6 for 11 points. It's a nice rebuttal to the family's 12-point first round, and that kind of point total puts some pressure on the family to deliver on their second round. When you don't give your teammate or the opposing team opportunities for steals, and you put up a double-digit second round points, in this case 11, that's a big number. And so now, as the deferring team, you're sitting back looking at like, all right, we gotta come to play, and they know and it's kind of somewhat beneficial because now you know how much you can go to multiple choice. In this case, not go to multiple choice in order to keep pace and to keep a lead. So which they were able to do. The family ended up getting comedy. They stick with it. I like Drew's logic at the end of the match, how he explains it's like, look, we're going to have to sometimes answer these categories that aren't necessarily our strengths. I think we can do it, and they proved it. I mean, they went 6 of 6, but for 10 points, and they were able to keep a 1-point lead, 22-21, heading into that final round.
Absolutely, and I think that the lead is, I think having, even if it's a 1-point lead going into the third round, is so crucial and so important for a number of different things. I mean, I'm sure you could speak more to the math of it all, and what factors that may or may not have at play. But I think for me, knowing that I'm like, okay, I'm right here. So even if we both go perfect in this round, we each get all 3 of our questions, I still win, right? It kind of takes a little bit of that edge off.
Right.
And then this third round, to me, it's one of the crazier rounds in the history of the movie Trivia Schmoedown.
It's the craziest final round I've ever seen.
Yeah. No, I have to agree. It's definitely the craziest final round. I mean, we've seen point swings that have been nuts, and overtime, sudden death things that have happened.
You can point towards the top 10 Patriots, final rounds and all that, but this one was just another.
But this one was something different because we've never seen it before.
Exactly.
And for a tournament match, right, that would get you into the semifinals, to come down to the final question, the way this one did, you could tell there's so much pressure on Drew McWeeny and Andrew Guy. And for them to go into this match and be undefeated to this point, you're starting to think, okay, if they win here, could they make it all the way to the final? And then you look at Paddington 2, who came in here with really nothing to lose. And although they're both great players, expectations on them, I think, overall, they weren't one of the marquee teams that people are like, oh, Paddington 2 is an obvious shoo-in to win it. In the same way that maybe a Who's the Boss or a Time Machine or a Shazam, some of those teams that we were talking about could make it and win this whole thing. So the dynamic was interesting here. You had somebody kind of overperforming, and then someone trying to hold on to that O. They don't want that O to go. And then for this final 5-pointer to come down, it came down to the last question, as it so often does in the movie Trivia Schmoedown. And it was it war films?
Yeah.
And it was a question about who was the last surviving member in the Dirty Dozen, right?
Right. And, the family answers Lee Marvin, and not even actually part of the Dirty Dozen. And so they announced that the Paddington 2 had won. And you're like, that is the correct call. And then Matt Atchity's like, wait a minute. And this is where I think, honestly, he had one or too many Mai Tais where I think he got caught up in his own brain and being so respectful of Drew McWeeny and how much he admires what Drew McWeeny has meant to the space in terms of movie reviews and all that. He goes, in my good conscience, I can't win this way, because to him, he actually misremembered that Lee Marvin was part of the Dirty Dozen when he wasn't. And so, first off, the challenge didn't even need to be issued because the question was fine. The answer that the family gave was wrong. It's just that Matt Atchity didn't realize he misremembered, or whatever the case was. He thought that they were right. And so he challenged it. He challenged that they shouldn't have won, essentially, that they were right. I really do wish for this one we could have seen the deliberation was like. We only saw it for that top 10 Patriot match just because it was so crazy that Christian was like, we just got to show this so everyone understands what's going on here, because they had such a tenuous, rivalry. I think it would have helped too to see this one, how the dynamics were unfolding, but that's okay. That's okay. We didn't really need it, but it would have been nice to see, especially because this is something like you had alluded to earlier. We had never seen this before. Matt Atchity challenged their own win, saying basically, no, they're right. I can't win like this. Blah blah blah.
Well, was it that they were right, or was it that the answer was kind of up in the air because there were? I think Matt actually said there were multiple surviving members or something to that effect.
Yes. Well, I mean, I forget the specific of it now, but yeah, he was. That's what he was saying, but the point is, Lee Marvin was never part of the Dirty Dozen. So you think that the question was fair? The question was absolutely fair, absolutely worded fine, and it's a legit question. It's a good 5-point question, no doubt about it. But Lee Marvin is an incorrect answer any way you look at it, except Atchity, for whatever reason, just had a different version of the movie in his head that made Drew correct, or he felt they were correct.
You said you wanted to be in on the deliberation. What do you think the deliberation was, if you had to recreate it in your mind? Why did the family? Why were they allowed to get another question?
That's the thing, because if you're going, the deliberation should probably be, okay, well, who's in the Dirty Dozen? You find out the 12. And then you go, well, Lee Marvin's not part of the 12. So the answer that they gave was Lee Marvin. They're wrong. Mm-hmm. But somehow something happened where it got very confusing. Christian talked about this on SEN Live earlier this week, or I guess it was on Wednesday. And they talked about it. It got all very convoluted. So they decided just to give another question, which should not have happened, because look, you can challenge, right? You can challenge a question, and then the desk can decide whether to overrule it or uphold it, right? The desk didn't have to acquiesce to Matt Atchity saying, I don't want to win this way. They could have just said, Matt, they're wrong. The answer they gave is wrong. It's okay. This is a valid win for you, because this is what the answers could have been. They didn't say that. So the desk didn't have to adhere to Atchity's pleas of he doesn't want to win this way. All they had to say was, you're not winning in the way you think you're winning. You're actually winning legitimately. Don't worry about it. So we're not going to uphold your challenge. We're overruling you. You win. That's what should have happened.
Okay. So I guess I was confused in even watching it. So I was under the impression that the challenge, because I've never seen The Dirty Dozen, so I don't know anything about this movie. I know that it stars Lee Marvin, but I guess he's not a part of The Dirty Dozen itself. Okay.
I believe he puts puts the Dirty Dozen together. I haven't seen it in a long time, but from all the other comments I was reading and all that, I believe he does put it together, but he's not actually part of the Dirty Dozen, because the Dirty Dozen, they're all criminals from the war. That So, but Lee Marvin's not a criminal. But nonetheless, he's not an answer.
Could it have been ambiguous at all?
It's not.
Is there any ambiguity? Okay,
not at all.
And do we know for sure that there was only one person who survived at the end?
I don't know. I should have looked that up, but I don't know for sure. But the only thing you have to know at this point, really, is that Lee Marvin wasn't part of the Dirty Dozen.
Well, no, that's not true. That's not true. Can we find this out? Can we challenge our challenge here?
Well, because if Lee Marvin's not part of the Dirty Dozen, and the question is asking what member of the Dirty Dozen survives, Lee Marvin, well, he's not part of the Dirty Dozen, so it doesn't.
But that doesn't make a difference. Actually, in my opinion, it depends on how many people survived.
Okay.
Because if the question is who was the last surviving member, but there was more than one surviving member,
sure,
then the question it's wrong, not the answer.
Oh, okay, okay, I see what you're saying. Who's the last? Because the question is saying who's the last remaining survivor. I think was it Charles Bronson? I think, yeah. I'm gonna have to pause this to look
You know what?
up.
We're gonna throw a challenge flag on our debate.
Yeah, I should have looked this
right
up
back.
before we got on air, but
I think let's actually throw up a challenge. Can we do that?
yeah.
And we're back after reviewing the ruling on the field.
We just mad atchitied ourselves. I think is what we did, right?
I think that I'm still confused. But I think though that there was some ambiguity as to yes. Okay, well you explain and then
I'm sorry.
I'll
Go
explain.
ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Why do you think that?
Because the question, who's the lone survivor of Dirty Dozen, and we did look it up, right? And we went through how everyone's killed. Jimenez died in the jump. Gilpin is killed on the roof when the antenna blows up. Pinkley is killed in the circle. Maggot was killed by James Brown's character, and then the other guy, Bowren, however you say his name, he's the sergeant, and it's noted that he's not part of the dozen. He gets shot, but he isn't killed. So that's where maybe some people would say, oh, I thought he was part of the dozen, but he's not. Vladik is killed by a sniper. Jefferson, James Brown's character, he dies after dropping the live grenades down into the bunker. The two guys, Sawyer and Lever, die on the boat. Posey and Bravos die manning the gun, defending the gate. Franco, he nearly gets away, but is shot in the getaway car, and Vladislav is the only survivor of the dozen, along with Bowren, who we noted is the sergeant, not part of the dozen, and then the colonel, who's also not part of the Dirty Dozen. So there's only one guy.
Yeah. Well,
and
let me ask you this.
Lee Marvin's character.
Let me ask you this. If I were to say who is, let's say like, a football team, like a whole team plane went down, right? Just, some random football team, right? Just follow me here.
Uh-huh.
And people die, right?
We are Marshall?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, hypothetically. The coach survives, right? If I were to say, who are the last remaining, who are the last surviving members of the, just say Houston Texans or what have you, or the Dallas Cowboys or the Chicago Bears, and the coach was the only one who survived, he's not technically a member of the team, right? He's not a Texan himself, but he's the coach of the team.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Would he not count?
He's not a player.
He's not a player, but he is a part of the team.
Right. So think of it like, but he's not part of the Dirty Dozen, right? So
would you not say Houston Texans coach? Right.
But
would you not say leader of the Dirty Dozen?
This doesn't really apply because in the context of the movie, the 12 that they recruit the 12 are criminals.
Right.
Okay, so with that, knowing that, then you get to say who's the only remaining recruited criminal of the Dirty Dozen that survives. That's what the question is asking without saying criminal. You see what I'm saying?
But it's not explicitly stated. Therefore, it could be up for interpretation. I think that's why they went ahead and just did away with it.
No, Brad.
I think so.
No.
I think so.
No, it's
Was Lee Marvin alive
I
at the end of the movie?
I believe so. I think he was the major.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I haven't seen the movie
So-
in a long time, but
I'm not. You're not on the button here. I'm just saying if he's alive
right,
and he helped create the Dirty Dozen,
right.
then I can see why they threw it out because it wasn't explicit enough. Because you could debate on if he was a member of the overall team. Just because it's called the Dirty Dozen doesn't necessarily mean it's limited to 12, right?
It's the dozen. That's 12. Who of the 12?
I know.
He's not
No, I
part
know
of
that.
the 12.
I know. It's just I think it's more ambiguous than you're trying to make it.
No, I think you're the one that's really making it.
And you said someone was shot,
think-
but did we see him die?
He was shot, but he did not die. That was
Someone
the
was
sergeant.
shot in
that
the
was
car as they were
the
leaving.
sergeant. That was let's see here, Franco.
Do we see him die?
He's in the getaway car. Yes.
He's dead in the getaway. He's shot, but does he die?
Actually, you know what? There's another thing I can look up because, no, for real, because this actually, so during a little behind the scene thing here, during the edit of this was brought up in an email, and I just think that the way it was laid out and explained was like, oh, he's absolutely right, and so I'm gonna lay it. Let's see here. I wish my computer wasn't running that slow, but it is because the internet.
It's all right.
Recording.
But I want to get this right because this was a special moment nonetheless. But I do want to get this right because we still haven't gotten to what happened after the challenge was overturned or what have you. But the ruling on the field rather. But what have you found this email that you're looking for? Because I want to hear this.
So here's So in the email, as someone, this is the editor, Aaron. Okay. He goes, as someone who loves the Dirty Dozen and has seen it many times, the answer was correctly worded and Paddington should have won. Bronson is the only one of the actual dozen to survive. The other two survivors were commanding officers, but were not part of the 12 dozen. 11 died, and only Bronson's character, Vladislav, survives. 1 parachute jump, 2 Savalas killed by James Brown. Everything that they had said. So, 2 die at the MG block, although Clint Walker's death is not shown, and then 1 in the getaway car. So,
so 1 death isn't shown. So how do we know he's dead?
Well, I guess you would have to see the movie, Brad, to understand.
I think it's ambiguous and it's up for interpretation.
Okay,
So
even
anyway,
though you didn't see the movie, you're willing to say it's ambiguous. Got it.
Well, hey, man, you know what they say in the force, in the police force? No body, no crime.
Oh,
all right?
boy.
I didn't see a body.
All right.
All right? If the death's not on screen, that means the character's still alive somewhere.
Oh,
you know what I mean? When it came for the sequel, Dirty Dozen 2, The Last Remaining 2. See? That was the name of the movie. You didn't know that, did you? But let's talk about, though, they got a new question, whether you agree with the challenge or not, because here's the thing. This is going to be a theme throughout the week because there's another challenge that I don't agree with the result on.
Okay.
You don't agree with this one. I don't agree with another one that went down. But they got a new question in war. They get the question correct.
Yeah.
Drew McQueenie and Andrew Guy were throwing a lifeline, and they advance in the tournament, whether you like it or not, Frank Janisch. And they're going to be going up against Who's the Boss in the semifinals. This, being the promoter that I know that he is, was Christian Harloff's dream come true.
Everyone's.
The family. Yes, everyone's. But as a promoter, as a writer, you're thinking, oh, God, I hope that they meet. I hope that they meet. And they did. They did meet Frank Janisch. And we're going to see Who's the Boss versus the family. I think that Who's the Boss should be favored.
100%.
But I think that it's still anyone's game. I think it depends on Drew Guy. Drew Guy is going to be the factor here, the determining factor. Does he want to wash his taste out of the defeat that Ben Bateman gave him earlier this year in Houston, Texas? I think that he does. I think he's going to come prepared. I think last time Andrew, in his match with Ben, relied too much on the mental warfare of it. I think that he
and there's a
relied
reason
on
why.
it heavily.
There's a reason why he relied on the mental warfare.
Well, because you think that he couldn't match up knowledge-wise.
Correct.
Right,
that's,
and
yeah.
No, and I don't think that he can on most days. I think that Andrew Guy is one of those guys, though, if the questions just happen to fall within his realm of expertise, he will nail it. He's not going to miss a question on a movie that he's seen multiple times. He's one of those guys who can retain that information. But I also think that he might be studying for this one. I really do. I think that he wants to get back at Ben Bateman. You've got Drew McQueenie there as a helper, as a teammate, as a crutch in some other ways. And I'm really excited for it. I think Who's the Boss wins, though.
Yeah, I would. I have Who's the Boss in the final. So
yeah, I do too.
I think
so I had to stick with him.
I don't know if did I have the family beating the Paddington 2 or Paddington 2 beating family, but either way, I still think that Andrew Guy he can be hot and cold, but you're right though. If the questions fall in his purview, it's going to be a tight one. It doesn't mean the family have a good shot of winning at that point. It just means it'll come down to another 5-pointer.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see it though. It's gonna be such a great match. Oh, can't wait to see it.
I mean, it's look, Andrew Guy TKO'd Mark Riley earlier, right, in his career, but Andrew Guy lost savagely to Ben Bateman and got beat with a chair on top of it. But Andrew Guy has thrown Ben Bateman, tackled him into a table. So and there's Drew McQueenie just like, I just want a belt. Like,
hey, real quick side note: is the chair shot with Booker T in the ring the new forming of the 5 Horsemen? Is that like moment of the year, or is it top? It's got to be in the top.
Oh,
2-3 moments.
You definitely put it in contention, and if you put that in the nomination list, I could definitely see Action Army going berserk on the pole and just attacking it, Last Jedi style, and it's going to win. Although, because personally, for me, I think the moment of the year is a really long moment. It spans the entire free-for-all, and that's Bibbs doing what he did at free-for-all. That's my personal moment of the year.
I thought you were going to go with Sharwo's retirement.
No, that's too sad. That's too sad.
Okay, my bad.
Honestly, if they had beaten corruption and in that manner, that they could have won, that would certainly be tugging at my heartstrings for that one. But I just think what Bibbs did, and I fully understand why, the Ben Bateman Andrew Guy knockout chair shot would be moment of the year. I fully get it.
I think it should win.
You're right. It probably will be, just because Action Army is crazy like that.
I think Booker wants a Schmoedown award too. I think he'd like to add that to his trophy.
Best, what do you call it? Best hosting city of a live event.
Oh yeah. But I feel like he'd be a part of the moment of the year, right? I mean, he'd be a part.
He was in the ring, right?
So he took the chair from Andrew and handed it to right before he flicked him off.
Best arming of a Schmoedown Pro goes to Booker T.
Christian, give the man an award. All right, figure it out.
Yeah.
But okay, let's talk about though. I think actually my favorite match of the 3 from this week, and that was Looney Bin versus Time Machine.
Dude.
Just because, good Lord in heaven, do I love Video Drew. I love that.
Oh my God,
I do.
This match, look, I had on the cheat sheet a few weeks ago, I did my for your consideration list, the awards, and who I thought, is in contention, who would win. My match of the year, for the whole entire year, ever since the match aired in February at the Throwdown, was the Rachel Cushing, Mike Kalinowski 2, when Rachel wins the IG belt, right? That's been my match of the year. However, after watching this match, it's up there for match of the year for me, man. This match, because not only are the theatrics, the antics, everything that Looney Bin's doing, even the way that Time Machine and specifically Janine's responding to everything that Video Drew's doing and Tom is doing, even Ethan Irwin, getting involved with it, and Jay, all of that is great, and the match itself is actually really, really good. It's high level knowledge being on display. So, man, that is a match of the year contender 100%. And when you put that up against what we got at the throwdown between Mike and Rachel, these are two completely different kinds of matches that I don't know how to decide between which. Do I want the high, intense, matchup that we got and finale and the ups and downs we got in that throwdown match, or do I want everything that we got in the Looney Bin Time Machine match? I don't know how to decide. But to me, those are the top two matches of the year.
I agree with you, man. I love this match so much because I think that if this is okay, I remember Mick Foley, the wrestler, telling a story about this girl who used to work in WWE. Her name is Stacy Keibler, and she ended up dating George Clooney for a while. And beautiful woman. If you do yourselves a favor, guys.
I recall.
Do yourselves a favor. Just quick little Google. But she texted Mick Foley and she says, "Hey, she texted him. She said, I'm trying to get GC into wrestling. What match do you recommend?" Right? And Mick Foley responded with like a couple matches. He's like, "Hey, show him this, show him this, show him this. That'll get him hooked." This is a match I would show somebody if they say, "Hey, what's the Schmoedown? Get me into it." I would show them this. This is one of the matches I would show them.
Yeah, it's like top five must introducing matches for sure.
Yes, because it's like you got character, you've got extreme knowledge, you have dynamics at play, you have levity, but you have drama. Like it's a great all around match, and really, Video Drew is in. She's not going to win, but she should at least be nominated for Rookie of the Year, just of what she's brought to the table. Obviously, she's not going to win. I think that's locked up already. But I think that she, along with Paul Preston and a couple other people, really just injected a whole new life into the movie Trivia Schmoedown. I think my top four rookies right now, off the top of my head, is obviously Paul Oyama. I got to go Chandru, Paul Preston, Video Drew. Those are my top four right now.
Smets?
Oh, and Kevin Smets. That was this year or that was last year?
He's this
I
year,
thought he came in at the end of last year.
Nope.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Smets is in the top five too, for sure. He's high on the list. But those five rookies to me have done so much for the league, and I really love Video Drew. But let's talk about the match. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a few takeaways from it, but can I give you my overall, real quick? Can I give you my overall of the match, Frank Janisch?
I can't stop you.
Okay. You remember when you ever seen the ESPN 30 for 30 This Magic Moment about the Orlando Magic?
A little bit of it, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
one of the best 1-2 punches in NBA history was Shaquille O'Neal and Penny Hardaway. I mean, right out of high school, college, and they came in the league, and immediately they had an impact together. Now they did end up going against the Houston Rockets and got swept in the finals. Always a good day. But they ended up beating, MJ's Bulls when he came back wearing the 4-5. They were a really good team. They were a really good 1-2 punch. Now, they never won the championship. As great as Penny Hardaway was, as great as Shaquille O'Neal was, as great as they were together, they could never get the job done because Shaq had his weaknesses, Penny had his, and they didn't complement each other enough to make it all the way to the championship. I think that I think that Ethan Irwin is Shaquille O'Neal. He is a brute force. This guy is a phenomenon when he is competing inside the movie Trivia Schmoedown. We saw in his rookie year what he was able to go out there and do. We saw that he won the tournament. He beat Dan Murrell for the title. I mean, this man. Oh, I'm sorry. He beat John Roca for the title.
But he also did beat Murrell in the tournament. You're right.
But he did beat Murrell in the thing. Okay, so just so we all know, I'm straight. I got it. All right. But the one thing that Shaquille O'Neal, throughout his entire career, we're talking about multiple championships, an MVP, one of the greatest of all time. He's in my top 5 NBA players ever. He had one flaw. One flaw that was exploited out so much, they invented a term for it, and it's still a strategy today. Hack-a-Shaq. The man couldn't shoot free throws effectively to save his life. Everyone knew this was his weakness. Everyone knew that he couldn't do it well. He would try all kinds of things, but he never came to a season with the Lakers, with the Heat, with the Magic, with the Celtics, with the Cavaliers, with the Suns. He never came to play with that free throw chip off of his shoulder. He was never able to come through and just slay the beast when it comes to free throws. He's been the punchline in so many jokes, so many rap lyrics. I'm going to shoot at you the way Shaq shoots a free throw. I remember KRS-One breaking that down. He goes, that's good because Shaq can't shoot a free throw. I say all this to say we know what Ethan Irwin's hack-a-Shaq is. It's been glaringly obvious for the entirety of his run, and for some reason, either by refusal to or just the inability to absorb the information from, the man is not good at animated movies. He self-admittedly is bad at them. He knows that he's bad at them. And that, to me, is like walking into a fight limping on your left leg. And it's like, oh, okay, aiming for that. You know what I mean? And that really is what sunk his battleship, or sunk his and Janine's time machine, I think, throughout this match, was his inability to be effective in animated movies.
I think you're, in terms of animated, yeah, that's been his Achilles heel, specifically Peter Pan. But he also did get Fritz the cat in this match, which is just like,
did he get it or did Janine get it?
He got it. So it's just like, but for the most part, you're 100% correct in terms of animation.
Well, Shaq did miss every shot.
Right, exactly. No, you're right. Exactly. So, like, he can get some of these, he can get some of them, but you're right. Like, that's, if you had to say what's the one weakness of Ethan Irwin, it is animated stuff. So, but you're right. Just like Shaq, once in a while, he'll bank one off the backboard if necessary. So, yeah, I don't completely disagree with your assessment there, but I just had to point out that he did get Fritz the cat, so that's something.
That is impressive. But there was also, just, I'm trying to kind of give an overarching thing of this because we spent a lot of time on the family match, but there also was some I don't know. Did you feel like Video Drew got upset a couple times? Especially when you didn't feel that? I felt like she got a little upset.
Legitimately? No.
I don't know. Does she have legitimate human emotions? I'm not sure.
She would probably agree with you on that, I guess.
But I say, like, because I think twice it was pointed out that Ethan doesn't have any children or something to that effect, and that's why he doesn't watch the animated movies. Or I think that was Mark Ellis's line. I think it was pointed out twice. And both times Video Drew goes, no one on this table has children, but we still get the answers right.
Yeah, somehow we still get, yeah. I don't see, that's just funny. I don't think that's being mad.
I don't know.
I don't think that's being
hot
upset
about it.
I think, no, she's just throwing shade at Time Machine. I'm like, okay, maybe you, who don't have kids, you can't get animated, but me and Tom, we don't have kids, and we still get these questions right. So explain that to me. That's how I took it.
Okay, and then the other thing was this, when she asked Christian Harloff, which is one of the greatest lines in the history of the Schmovie Trivia Schmoedown. Christian, how do you spell cat?
Phenomenal.
In reference to her thinking that Time Machine was getting easy questions in their second round. I do believe that's when she said it. And then it came back when she was given the question of, who essentially was Richard Gere, what?
Yeah.
Richard Gere in Pretty Woman. You know what I mean? Who played the businessman in Pretty Woman? It's like, I don't know. Who played the prostitute? I don't know.
Right.
But did you think that the round two questions were easy for Time Machine?
That's a good question. Just because it's subjective, but I knew most of them, but I've seen a lot of Tom Cruise movies, so I think there's like one or two that kind of like slipped by me, but maybe I don't know. So if I had went to multiple choice, that maybe I probably could have picked them up. So I guess, but like that's just kind of, it is what it is though. So it's not like it's nothing new. Just happens sometimes that way.
Obviously, though, Fritz the Cat getting that in the 5th round for Time Machine. I mean, in the 3rd round for their 5-pointer for Time Machine was
Well, wait, real quick before we. I'm sorry. What was phenomenal about this match, though, as all the antics are going on, and Video Drew is telling Tom when to answer, and not now, Tom. I mean, it was. I honestly need a shirt that says Tom, not now. Like, just that whole thing is just hilarious and phenomenal to me. But both teams did go 6 for 6. Both went 12, earned 12 out of 12 points in the 2nd round. Looney Bin's clinging to a 1-point lead, going into 25-24, going into a crucial match-deciding final round. This is what we were talking about earlier. Great play and great characters in this match. I mean, Video Drew was referencing Janine as an actual machine, and the moment Janine goes, "Are you?" They ask her, "Are you ready to play?" and she says, "Terminate, exterminate." A la who's the Doctor Who and the Daleks. Like just the back and forth, being able to play off one another and heighten it. Because there are people who don't reciprocate. In a bit or in a certain situation, and then it just falls flat, and it's like But this, everyone was playing off of each other, and actually one of my favorite moments was, I think Ethan Irwin said something to the effect of like Tom has like 3 kids, and Tom says, "I used to," and it's just one of those morbid, jokes that just really lands because of the dynamics. Like, the more and more I talk about it, it's creeping up as my match of the year, man.
And the more and more I see Tom, the more and more I really feel like how Ken Knapsack brought Rachel Cushing in.
Yes.
We're seeing Video Drew.
It's a great
bringing
analogy.
Tom in. I mean, it really feels like this guy is phenomenal. But if I was to draft, you'll tell me here in a second. But if I was to draft, I think I would like for them to stay as a team. But what were you going to say, Frank? Yeah,
so Christian, wanted to know how many questions has this dude Tom missed? What is he? How many he's got correct? What's his streak? What's he? How's he playing in these three team matches so far? So here we go.
Stat man, do your stat.
First off, he's played in 3 team matches, and he's gone 8 for 8 in the first round, all 3 times, 3 times in a row. His last 2 matches, he's been able to get the bonus. So he's actually in the team's division. He's the first player to have 3 consecutive 8 for 8 perfect rounds. Okay. Also, a fun fact, too, this relates actually back to singles. There's another player this year who has 3 perfect 8 for 8s along with the bonus. He actually has he answered all 3 bonus questions he got, so he's 27 of 27 in the first round in singles. Do you know who that might be?
Who's that?
Chance Ellison.
Oh,
hasn't missed a first round question in singles this year. I should compile what he did in teams and see his overall round 1 this year. But overall, though, for Tom, because he did miss a question in the final round, his 3-pointer, which was who plays 8-ball in Ocean's 8. He said Aquafina. 9-ball, yeah. He says Aquafina when it was Rihanna. Which
could have told you that one, brother.
Come on, I can tell you that too. But he's 28 out of 30 questions asked of him in 3 team matches. That's 93% correct. He's only missed.
Does that include the bonus that he missed?
Yes. So he missed.
That includes a bonus question that he missed.
He missed 1 bonus question.
Holy hell.
and that 3-pointer that he missed in this match. That's it. That's all he's missed.
Oh my goodness, this guy is a monster.
He
is, and he's going to go high in the draft. But
you gotta
believe.
Believe.
I think you draft Looney Bin together. I really do.
I don't know, actually. If you like the antics and the theatrics that come with Looney Bin, 100%. But because this team, I don't know that it's enough to win a title, as is. I don't know if Tom.
He just answered how many?
Right, but look, Video Drew, Maybe we haven't seen the best of Video Drew yet.
Don't hate on my girl now.
Because if that's the case, then sure, I have a lot more faith. I would have more faith that they could do it. But as what I've seen so far from Video Drew, I don't know if it's enough. Once you start playing teams like Who's the Boss, The Odd Couple, Corruption, they'll be definite contenders, but they won't have enough at the end of the day. They'll get so close, but they just won't have enough, I feel like, to actually seal the deal when it comes down to it. But, crazier things have happened.
Crazier things have happened, like this match and like Video Drew's hugs. I want to actually if she's at the Spectacular, I got to take a picture of her doing the hug thing. Because that got over with me.
That was fun.
And I think Jay didn't even know how to respond.
No.
Jay Washington, who's normally so talkative and runs his mouth all the time, Video Drew was like his kryptonite.
Oh,
he did not know what to do. He had no idea what
Yeah.
to do. And it's crazy, though, that Ethan Irwin and Janine the Machine, both of their seasons are finished.
Yeah.
We're not going to see them until season 7.
Because they still played really great. They were 20 of 25. That's 80% accuracy. And to go out in a match like this, to have your season end on a match like this, I think hurts a little less given the fact.
Potential.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it hurts a little less given the fact that Looney Bin is just a phenomenal team all the way around. So, and the match was just really fun. I know Janine has said it's the most fun she's ever had in a match, I think. So, yeah, it's not great to lose, but if you're going to lose, I guess it's probably in a match of the year contender.
Yeah, it doesn't help, but it doesn't hurt too much. You know what I mean?
Right.
Looney Bin goes on to face the winner of the Odd Couple and Shazam, and I feel like now allow us to get to the Odd Couple and Shazam. This was another just great high-scoring affair of sheer offensive will by these two guys. But, as I always do, I made a promise to the man. I'm going to keep the promise. Let's talk about the entrances of both teams. Let's talk about Shazam's first, though. I think this is just another Bibbs way of being real meta in his entrance and, being creative and finding a way. We hear Shazam announced, and then we hear the word Shazam, and 2 lightning bolts come down, and then you see Ken Knapsack and Mark Ellis go away, and they're replaced by Brendan the Kid Meyer and William Bibiani, who then break down the commentary of the commentators by doing commentary about the commentators,
Yeah.
and then show the strengths and weaknesses of the commentators. I mean, I really thought it was phenomenally done. It was a really creative entrance, and I really like this from Bibbs.
Yeah, I like this one a lot as well. I like the fact that in the strengths segment, you even have Ellis and Knapsack kind of like looking around, like where the hell are they? Like what am I doing here? So that was really fun to. Just that small little nugget I thought added a lot as well to this entrance, if you call it that.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was really fun. And then there was another entrance from the Odd Couple, which was odd.
Yeah.
I
don't know how
pantsless Jeff Snyder.
Yeah. Let me tell you this one, Brad. I was actually there for this one, and
good.
Let me tell you.
Got to see those legs, man. Them
Yeah.
thighs. Let me say, did the thighs match the the ass?
You know what? It was. I was doing a lot of this. I was doing a lot of. Just please get behind the desk already. Kind of just not looking over there.
Oh man, because it's a big problem nowadays. With Instagram and the butt implants. You never know if the thighs are going to match.
Oh boy.
The posterior. I don't know. I just wanted to know.
I can't tell you.
On it.
I can't tell you.
You got eyes on it.
I didn't. I didn't though. I averted my eyes.
I think that you have wandering eyes, Frank Janisch. He's a peeping Tom. Anyway, great entrances by both teams. One great entrance, one memorable one, and then the match started. Now, I picked Shazam kind of from the beginning here to go all the way. The only thing I was worried about when I was looking at the bracket was, okay, they're going to have to go against the Odd Couple. Don't like that matchup for them because you have one half You have one half of their team is the greatest team player of all time in Jeff Snyder. The other guy, Mark Andreyko, who is former team champion and a guy who almost won the singles championship before. So we lost it on a Ready to Rumble question.
Yeah,
I'll always remember. But I thought that Shazam, this would be their biggest challenge, to get to that next step. And obviously the Odd Couple was a huge challenge for them. Talk to me about who you thought was going to make it out of this match and their first rounds.
I had no idea who's going to make it out of this match, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, it was a pick'em, wasn't it? It was a real pick'em.
So tough. And let me tell you, being there, though, everyone knew this is a big, big match. I mean, it's a second round match, but this is a tournament final match. The only thing missing was the betting round and the speed round from this match, to be honest. And man, just them all getting at the desk. When they finally got at the desk, there was a lot of yapping going on up there. Just
a lot of talk.
And that to me sometimes can signal that both teams know that they take each other very seriously. They know that each team can really put the squeeze on, and no one was taking each other lightly. And maybe, all four of them are to some degree a little nervous at what is about to go down, because it's not going to be an easy match. This one's not going to be quote unquote fun, but fun in a very competitive way for sure. It's going to be a drag out fight, and that's exactly what we got here, man. This was, you know what? Put in your top 5 for matches of the year, for real.
Yeah, it was definitely a slugfest, and there were some moments of controversy, as I feel like Jeff Snyder, whenever he is involved, that guy comes to play. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And he's also a guy who you want to beat him really badly. You know what I mean? Like, that he's really good, and he talks a lot of smack because he is that good, so you want to beat him really badly. And I think that's why a lot of the times his matches are always a little bit heated. But talk to me about round one, like point totals at the end of round one, because I think we saw something pretty special from Shazam.
100% we did. Shazam, they went 8 for 8, Brendan and Bibbs, and then they both got the bonus, so they both went 9 for 9. Prior to this year, the only team to do that was Top 10 when they did it against Top That, which you were there for that match. We were both there for that match. You did the post-match interview. And then we actually saw it a few weeks ago in Orlando for the second time ever when Roca and Dan Merle had did it in their first round. And now we see it here between Bibiani and Brendan Meyer, the third duo, the third set of teammates to ever accomplish that feat. Go 9 for 9, both players in the same match in the first round. Only the third time that's ever happened, and there's really no better time to do that. There's really no better time to do it against this kind of team, to get 18 first-round points, because the Odd Couple put up 13 points. 13 points, and yet they are down by 5. I mean,
incredible. Wow.
It's just, that's got to honestly be a little deflating to know that collectively you all missed just 3 questions, and you're still down by 5 points after the first round. I mean, that's literally like, it's like a 10-5 round, if you want to look at it that way. It's just, or 13-8, what have you. So it's just like, how are we down by 5 points, even though we put up 13 points, which is way above the team division average? And it's, I don't know if that's demoralizing, or it's just like, yeah, we got what we were expecting and more, if you're the Odd Couple. Yeah. And Shazam...
the Odd Couple knew that they were going to have to bring it.
Yeah.
But for Shazam to come and go perfect on it. And you can definitely tell William Bibiani's expert tutelage is all over Brendan Meyer. Mm-hmm. The way that Brendan plays now, the questions that he can pull, you can tell that he and Bibiani have really been working together. And I think that in the second round... we saw this really come into play. Talk to me about the second round.
Yeah, in the second round, actually, real quick about the first round, I think it's important to note, Brendan Meyer, he came off a pretty tough loss to Ben Bateman. And he bounces back with, a perfect first round here, in a huge spot to go to the semifinals of the tournament. But in the second round here, Shazam, they defer to the Odd Couple, which, look, they have a 5-point lead. I think it's a solid decision,
Right.
But it can kind of backfire the way that it did for the family when they deferred to Paddington 2, who put up 11 points. The Odd Couple, they put up 10, and they went 5 of 6. So, and they did get by not getting, Shazam not capitalizing on that miss, and so they put up 10 points, and then Shazam, they land on opponent's choice after having so much momentum, of 5-point lead coming out of that first round. They're up 23-18, which is crazy because it's not that huge of a lead when your opponent still has to go in their second round. But the Odd Couple gives Shazam Dance, and I'm not sure if there was really another category that the Odd Couple could have given Shazam, because if you've heard or seen tweets or Facebook posts from Bibbs, he does have an affinity for dance movies, specifically. Big fans of his will know, like the Step Up movies, I believe it is, or
Yeah.
So it's like,
I think that's right.
So it's not like this was a terrible category for Bibbs. I wouldn't say it's like one of his top 3 strengths, no, but it's not like the worst thing he could get. And to be honest, there's not a lot of categories that you could give him that would just be detrimental to him.
Yeah, and that's what Roxy Stryer said
100%.
after the match. She was like, "Hey, I mean, what is their weakness? I don't know." So we went with dance. I mean,
Right.
That was essentially what she said, and I agree with her. But I want to get back to the dance category here in a second. But first, go back to
right.
Andreyko and Snyder. There was a question asked on Scarlett Johansson. One, there was a trick question asked, which I guess is not technically a trick question, about the Oscars. How many
Right.
Oscars has she won? She hasn't won any. So
Right.
technically, 0 is an answer, and it's a number, or it's
Yeah.
actually the absence of a number. So I guess that is not so much of a trick question, but it leads you to believe that she's at least won one.
Mm-hmm.
So I see. I don't know if anyone had a problem with that. I didn't see any talk about it, but it was an interesting question. But the girl with the pearl earring question, the girl with a pearl earring question, that was the thing.
Right.
There was a challenge on that. Now, I went back and listened as closely as I could, and Draco says it very quickly.
Yes.
But I hear the girl with the pearl earring. That's what I hear.
And
that was what the challenge was that he said that.
right.
And they didn't accept the challenge. They kept with the 2 points being awarded to Odd Couple, and the reason was they didn't have an instant replay available to them at the time. So first off, I want to ask, did you hear the same thing that I heard? And secondly, what do you think about the reasoning of the challenge?
Well, first off, the reasoning. I understand that they just don't have that. So you would literally,
Because they shoot the matches live to tape. So
yeah,
I mean,
you would literally
have to
have
stop.
Exactly, and that's just not conducive to how they run the ship over there.
It does make me wonder, and I thought about this. I was like, man, I know that it's such a hassle, to have to stop the whole production, rewind the tape, and then pick it back up, and then editing. That's more man hours. I was wondering if they should have like a recorder, a little hand recorder of some kind, on the desk or in the room recording a secondary audio source for particular cases like this, because I don't think this is the first time there's been a challenge like this where they said, hey, did they say the or the or and or
Right.
So I think to have that secondary source might benefit going forward. I mean, even if it's an iPad that just runs,
Right.
a voice recorder app there the entire time, it could help these things in the future.
Yeah, I mean the thing though with that is you got to make sure if you're gonna try and implement something like that, you have to make sure that it's not just an iPad recording audio, because you're gonna want the best audio quality that you can possibly get. Because even bad audio could still give you an inconclusive result, or you still might not be able to tell. So
True.
it's a little easier said than done, and based on how that studio is set up, I don't know if that's conducive to anything that they could do. But what I will say is I did too go back and listen to Draco's answer. And what I will say is this. I mean, when you look at it, because the title of the movie is Girl with a Pearl Earring. That's the title. And Draco said, the girl with a pearl earring, right? That's what he said, right? Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
okay.
I was nodding.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was on a different
Of course.
screen. Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
But do you know what I did there? I ran with and the letter A together.
You
So
said
it's
with the.
yeah, with
Not with the.
with the. So when you add
Right.
when you run the th and the word A together, it sounds like the. So I understand why Brendan Meyer and Bibbs would challenge, but I also understand that if you hear it and you speak that way, then Ellis, him saying, I heard the, I can understand him saying that because
But
when you
but did
run
he
those
say-
two, when you run those two together, it sounds like you're saying with the when he's actually saying with, because you could say a, like girl with a pearl earring, girl with a pearl earring, right? So when you run with and with a, it sounds like the word the, even though you're saying you know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm saying?
No, I hear you. But did he say the girl with the pearl earring or the girl with the pearl earring? Did he say
said-
the at the beginning?
He said the girl with a pearl earring. Well,
and
a
the
pearl
name of the movie is?
girl with a pearl earring.
So he's still wrong.
So that's the other argument that you have to ask yourself is by him putting the in front of the title, does that make it wrong? Because he can say, what's the title of that movie? Oh, it's Girl with a Pearl Earring. You said, so you could argue you said the. You could also say he legitimately thought the title was The Girl with a Pearl Earring. So by you adding that article of the,
I think you're giving him a lot of leeway here. I think that the answer was wrong. I do. I
Well,
mean,
see,
he was
here's the-
right.
here's the
it
thing,
was
though.
girl with a pearl earring.
they challenged the middle the. They challenged that part. They challenged that part.
Well, I thought okay.
Yeah. But
Okay.
it is true though that Brendan even did say, he goes, I think it's actually just girl with a pearl earring. But
Yeah.
the way I heard it was that they were challenging whether he said
The
a
second
pearl
the.
earring or the pearl earring. That's what they were challenging. To my understanding.
It's a confusing one. I would have ruled against him because I heard the girl with the pearl earring is what I heard. So
Yeah,
I'd
so-
rule against him, but it's another one of those things. It's up for the interpretation of the people sitting at the desk about the
that's
panel.
one of those situations where you have to say the title like that very specifically. You have to articulate it very specifically so you don't merge the word with and together to sound like the, and you can avoid that confusion. I think going forward it would behoove players for titles like that to say say it like you're answering on Wheel of Fortune. Girl with a pearl earring.
Yeah.
That's how, for real.
Do you remember when they were trying to solve the puzzle on Wheel of Fortune? It was a viral clip a couple of years ago, and it was the category was Greek god or something like that, or great myth, something like that. And it was the Greek god Achilles, and the guy read it as the Greek god Achilles.
Yes, I
Something
remember that
like
one.
that, and he lost.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Oh, good God in heaven. That was my second favorite game show moment, behind where there was a Family Feud episode where Steve Harvey, the question was, name a word that typically follows the word pork. So like pork chop or, porky pig or whatever. And the guy said porcupine.
Oh yeah, I remember that. And just Harvey's looked like
Cupine?
Cupine.
Oh, the best.
Show me
The
Cupine. Wow.
Oh, anyway. But yes, I agree. Okay. I thought I would have ruled against him, but once again, it's up to who's ever at the desk. I always go back to the one challenge that I took place in was Huey Lewis in the News or Huey Lewis
right.
in the Manager Bowl from the year prior. So I get it. It's kind of up to your discretion at the time. But let's talk about this match coming down to the 5-point question. Again, we're talking about legendary point totals here. I mean, trying to break records, or it was Bibiani and the kid, the fine, young, tenderoni, Brendan the Kid Meyer. Yes, we have to make that chant go down next week. FYT, the fine, young tenderoni, Brendan the Kid Meyer. But for it to come down to a 5-point question was only fitting. And the question, I believe, was about the movie Roadhouse.
Yes.
And there was 3 rules to Roadhouse, something like take it outside, and there was another one. And then the third, it was the question was, what was the third rule?
Yeah.
And the third rule, I believe, was always be nice.
Correct.
Which is how ironic.
I mean, yeah.
For William Bibiani, perhaps the nicest man in the world, and Brendan Meyer, who's Canadian, so
there you
go. How fitting was it for them to win on a question that ended with always be nice?
It was great, and even Bibbs was like, it's Shazam's team motto. It's always be nice, you know? No, I mean, it's a great ending. One of those, like, in terms of the answer that has to be given, it's great. You know, it has a couple. Right. Yes, it's the correct answer, and it pertains to the team of Shazam, of Brendan Meyer and William Bibiani. That's their thing, you know? So, but yeah, it's only right that it comes down to the 5-pointer for 2 teams like this, especially, you know, vying for a spot at the semifinal. So this match definitely lived up to the hype. It lived up to the promise of being just a slugfest. It lived up to, you know, it being a tough call who's going to win this one. Either team was good enough to win on this day, you know, and it just so happened to go in the favor of the Shazam, and it's really because of that first round. 2 perfect first rounds with the bonus, really just had the odd couple chasing the whole way, and Shazam didn't relent, and that's what championship caliber teams do. They do not let off the gas. And Bibbs, you know, yeah, he lost that title shot against Merle early in the year, lost the team title shot with critically acclaimed against the Shire Wolves, but after that, I mean, it's been pedal to the metal, man, and he rolled through, you know, the singles tournament to get to the final that will take place at Spectacular, and right now he's on another roll here in the teams tournament with Brendan Meyer. I mean, the guy has played he just plays the best of the best at this point this whole year, and aside from those losses, he's come out on top, and that just doesn't happen. Like, even Ethan Irwin wasn't able to overcome, you know, elite play this year. I mean, he's played great, just doesn't have the W's to show for it. Bibbs has played great and has the W's. So it's a phenomenal year.
Bibbs has a chance.
Oh, yes.
Bibbs has a chance to really close this thing out incredibly.
He has...
And I just feel like he is.
He has the shot at having the greatest single season for a player, in my opinion. If he can cap it off at Spectacular with some big wins, I don't think there's an argument to be had as the greatest single season, given the fact what he did at Free For All. Even though he didn't win it, he went from start to finish, you know? So if he can cap it off at Spectacular, he will end the year, in my eyes, as the greatest single season a player's ever had.
I think I'm right there with you, man. So let's make quick predictions for next week. You have Shazam versus Looney Bin. Who's the boss versus the family? I think we're going to have the same answers on this, but go ahead, Frank Janisch. What are we going to see?
Yeah, I'm going to take Shazam over Looney Bin. I just, you know, it's going to be interesting, though, to see Tom go to head-to-head with Bibbs. Ooh. Yeah. That's going to be tasty. Yeah. That first round is going to be amazing to watch. And then I'm going to have Who's the Boss over the family, because Ben has been playing on fire I think Mark Raleigh has been reinvigorated, and he's going to want some revenge over Andrew Guy.
Absolutely, man. I agree. I think that there's an outside shot that both the family and the Looney Bin can pull it out, but I think the favorites are Who's the Boss and Shazam. That's who I think we're going to see. But Frank Janisch, we're going to get to talk about it next week. Woo! We're going to get to talk about it next week because we're going to be live in Los Angeles, California. Then the following day is going to be the spectacular. It's like Christmas morning. And I cannot wait. Frank Janisch, why don't you let the people know where they can find you and follow you and all that good stuff?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at FrankieJ29, and tune in Monday evening, 8 p.m. Central on the Schmoedown Rundown Facebook page, which will probably be shared to the Movie Trivia Schmoedown Facebook group page. I will be doing a bit of a spectacular preview, but from a statistical point of view, talking about accuracy rates, points per game, all that good stuff. So if you're interested in that and how each player and team is going to stack up with their respective stats, tune into that Monday, 8 p.m. Central. If you want to join the live, when I air it live, and then you could, if you miss it, you can catch it on the Movie Trivia Schmoedown podcast feed, the same feed you're listening to this show on, and all the Schmoedown matches. So, also, previous episodes I've done are up there, including the awards one I did, which is a fun one. So if you're interested in who I think is in contention for some awards, go seek out that episode on the podcast feed.
Hey, man. Yeah, go check out that cheat sheet. You can find me on all social media at Brad Gilmore. Frank and I will be live in Los Angeles, California next week. Also, check out the Hall of Fame with Booker T and myself going down Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays over on ESPN 97.5. We just had our 100th episode this past week, so blazing through me and the Booker Man. So go check that out and go subscribe to the Reality of Wrestling YouTube channel. We're closing in on 175,000 subscribers. We started this year out with 18,000.
Wow.
So I got a shout out to everybody out there who's subscribed to the channel. We're going to get to 1 million before you know it. But for Frank Janisch, I'm Brad Gilmore. We will see you next week here on the Schmoedown Rundown. Brother, dig it.
I really need some heat in this room. My nose is so cold right now. It's so cold.